Steeler Nation, good Thursday morning to everybody. I am Mac, back with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram. Link is in the box below. Week number 4 pregame preview as the Pittsburgh Steelers at 3-0 head on to Indianapolis to play the Indianapolis Colts, who are 1-2 on the season. Let's get into this. So, obviously, like I said, we're 3-0, coming off of a win against the Los Angeles Chargers, a game in which, you look at the stats and it's like, the Steelers didn't really explode at any point in the game. They didn't overwhelm the Chargers at any point. But you know what? Like I put out in my Arthur Smith video the other day, this offense isn't really built to overwhelm you. It's not really built to dominate in particular stats or particular plays. Arthur Smith's offense revolves around ground and pound and revolves around time of possession and ball control, and that's what the Steelers did. Okay? But you take a look at the defense. That is something that the Steelers absolutely dominated in, as LA had 173 yards of offense in the first quarter, and the first half rather, and they had -5 in the second half. 5 sacks on Justin Herbert. Couldn't come away with any turnovers. Patrick Queen had one in his hands, but he dropped it at the last second. And honestly, if you look at it, the Steelers could have gotten 27 if they really wanted to, because they got a first down at the 1-yard line. It was under the 2-minute warning. The Chargers were out of timeouts. So the Steelers just decided to end the game. They're like, you know what? We're up double digits. We really don't need any more points. We have the game won. Let's just end it right here. But like I said, they could have gotten 27 if they really wanted to, but it's like we already won. Let's just end the game. So there's the deal with that. And then as for the Indianapolis Colts, 1-2 on the season, they're off to a bit of a slow start. They're struggling, but you can never truly count them out, because they're led by a head coach in Shane Steichen. They're coming off a win over the Chicago Bears, their first win of the season, a game in which that the offense, once again, a little underwhelming considering the talent that they have, but still they got the job done over the Bears. Now, if you want to point that out to the Colts offense getting off to a slow start, or Chicago's defense, just being a really tough unit to start off this season, I welcome either case, because, two things can be true at the same time. But the fact of the matter is, Indianapolis is just off to a little bit of a slow start. And if you remember last year, it's kind of like the roles are reversed with these two teams. We came into Indy last year late in the season, and we were deflated after a humiliating loss to the Patriots on Thursday night. And before that, we had dropped another game where we lost to two 2-10 teams in less than a week. And the Colts came in with a ton of momentum, and Indy absolutely ripped us a new one, basically on prime time. Now it's kind of like the roles are reversed. We're coming in with more momentum in this one, and Indy, not saying they're not coming in with momentum, but Indy, they're coming in with question marks. You don't really know what to expect from them. So let's talk about the Colts here for a second. Like I said, they're struggling. They're off to a slow start. I can expect them to pick it up as the weeks go by, because you can never count them out with Shane Steichen. Great offensive mind. Pretty much just watch my preview from last year. Like I said, last year when they beat us 30-13, they had Gardner Minshew starting in that game because Anthony Richardson was out for the whole season. But now you got Anthony Richardson in this game this year, and that just shows you that, Shane Steichen is just the right coach for this type of team right here. He runs a pro spread offense. Going to be seeing a lot of shotgun and pistol for him, and they're very run heavy. And like I said, it all starts with Mr. Richardson. as I keep going back. And yeah, Anthony Richardson off to a slow start. He had that game against Green Bay a few weeks ago where he threw 3 picks, but he's been taking care of the ball well since then. And I know he's still young and he still has a lot of career left in him. You're looking at a guy who just has a ton of upside. He's got dynamic rushing ability. He's got a really good arm. His arm is really strong. He can rifle down the field, and he has good pocket presence as well. So he's definitely gonna pose this defense a challenge that can definitely ring up sacks. Like I said, 5 sacks against Justin Herbert last week. All of them came coming in the second half. But two things hold back Richardson so far. It's that his accuracy is off and he really doesn't have the best decision making. And that leads me to my first key to victory right here is that because he has bad decision making, because his accuracy is off, defense has to do one of the things that makes them so successful in the first place. And it's that you got to you got to make them make mistakes here. This defense is really known for causing turnovers. Like I said, no turnovers last week, but we had a couple to start the first few weeks. So if there's a get right moment for the defense to cause some turnovers, I think this is the week to do it. However, we're going to be out, you know, one big guy on defense that I think can get us that turnover, and it's Corey Trice. He is dealing with a hammy right now, and Tomlin said in his press conference that he's expected to miss this week. So, someone has to come up with the big turnover. I'm not too concerned if that's the only loss that we have on defense so far. We've seen JPJ come up and make some plays. We've seen Dante Jackson come up and come up with an interception. Um, Minka's always a candidate to go deep and get an interception. Even some of our linebackers are, good for that as well. And of course, we can always cause the strip sack fumble, which TJ Watt should have had in week 1, but it was called back by a bad call by the officials. So definitely you got to make them make mistakes. You got to take advantage of a struggling quarterback going on in the early parts of the season, and you got to make them, you got to make them force the ball and make them make bad passes. So that's my first key to victory right there. So I mentioned that the Colts are very run heavy, and they are because, you take a look at Jonathan Taylor a couple years ago. He was actually in the MVP talks. Personally, I don't think he is an MVP candidate, but he definitely is an important enough part of this Colts offense because to me, if you stop Jonathan Taylor, your chances of beating the Colts are going to skyrocket. And I sat down here for the first few weeks of the season saying that our run defense is very up and down, but our run defense has been fantastic to start off the season. You take a look at the first 2 weeks. Held Bijan Robinson to under 4 yards a carry in week 1. And then last week, the Chargers led the league in rushing going into that game. And we held J.K. Dobbins to under 3 yards a carry, 2.9 on the day when he averaged 9 going into that game. So basically, we took 2/3 off of that average that J.K. Dobbins had going into that game. So the run defense has been phenomenal to start off this season. So definitely, I mean, if you can hold Bijan Robinson and you can cool off that Charger run game, you can cool off Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing that we're going to cool off Jonathan Taylor because it's still a tough task to stop him, but I'm just saying, strike while the knife is hot, man. This run defense is off to a really good start and keep it going. As for Indy's O-line, I really don't think their O-line gets enough credit. You're talking about, in my opinion, a top 5 O-line in the league, maybe even top 3. Indy's O-line is very underrated. They protect well. They open up a lot of gaps. They're physical. They protect their quarterback, whoever it is under center. They do a really good job with it. As a matter of fact, 4 of the 5 starters that they have on the O-line are in the top 10 in their respective position. The only one who I think is not in the top 10, I think it's either their right tackle or their right guard, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's on the right side. I can't remember which position it is, though, but I know it's on the right side. But even then, he's 14th out of 73. So that's not too bad right there. So you're going up against, in my opinion, an elite O line right here. And we know that the Steelers have faced some tough O lines to start off the year. Atlanta has a good O line, LA has a good O line, and the Steelers have done a really good job in creating pressure despite going up against good blocking O lines. You know, like I said, 5 sacks last week on Justin Herbert. We pressured Kirk Cousins all day week 1 in our win. And we even got the Bo Nix a lot of times as well. So we're 3 for 3 with that so far. We definitely have came up with some big pressures along the way. So definitely create pressure and make Anthony Richardson struggle. You know, like I said, he's a dynamic rusher, so it's definitely going to be a challenge, and he does have real good pocket presence. But if you keep up that pressure all day, eventually you're going to win a battle with that. So definitely you got to create pressure in this one right here. Indy skill players as far as they go, you take a look at some of them. Alec Pierce, he's a really good target for Anthony Richardson. And then, of course, you got Michael Pittman. Last year, he took that real big shot against DeMonte Kazee that he was wrongfully, yes, I'm saying wrongfully suspended for. Clean hit. A lot of people say it was helmet to helmet. A lot of people say it was dirty. I'll be honest. At first, I thought it was a dirty hit. Okay. I thought it was helmet to helmet. It's harder to tell in real time. But then when you take a look at the replay, it's a lot easier to decipher. He did not hit him helmet to helmet. He hit him with the shoulder. Okay. It only looks dirty because he was just trying to make a play on it. And KZ was already in transition of making the tackle. I mean, what do you want him to do? You want him to just stop in midair and defy the laws of physics and go, nope, I'm not going to tackle you. That's what it is. Wrongfully suspended right there. Thankfully, he's okay. But Pittman is still a really good target for Anthony Richardson. Okay, so Indy's offense, they do have talent. They do have the playmakers to be a successful offense. It's just that they've gotten off to a slow start, but that all goes back to coaching. I think Shane Steichen is doing a really good job as far as this offense goes, and it's only a matter of time before they really show their true potential as far as the offense goes. I just hope it's not this week for obvious reasons, but you know, both these offenses, it's like they have talent, they have playmakers. You just expect them to do more with it. You know, I'd say the only difference is Indy's offense is a little bit more defined than ours is, but these offenses are kind of similar going in this week. They're not, you know, Indy, like I said, the difference is Indy's offense, they have the potential to overwhelm you, but they just haven't hit that stride yet. Where our offense is like, we're not going to overwhelm you. We're just going to wear and tear down your defense. And speaking of Indy's defense, their defense is okay. It's not great. It's not terrible either, but to me, it's a little bit outdated. They're going with a Seattle 3 type of defense, which I think the Colts are really the only team in the NFL that does this type of defense nowadays. I mean, they're going coverage they're going 3 coverage guys in a lot of matchups right here. You just don't do that in the NFL nowadays anymore. So, I mean, if there's a defense to wear down, it's definitely this one. But, you know, I think Indy's defense is already worn down going into this game enough because a lot of their players are either injured or on IR, mainly DeForest Buckner. He's a really good playmaker on that D line. He's on IR. Kwity Paye, really good off the edge, a real good run defender as well. He's on IR. Kenny Moore, good playmaker, on IR. Julius Brents, IR. And then you take a look at guys like Samson. Please correct me if I'm saying this guy's name wrong. I'm terrible with last names sometimes. But Samson Udabakam, if I'm pronouncing his name right. Again, please correct me if I'm botching that. But he's out for the season with an Achilles injury. You know, but you look at who they do have, and Latu Latu, really good off the edge as well. And when Kwity Paye is healthy, I think him and Latu make a really good dynamic duo on that edge. He's a young stud. I expect him to play. Then you got, of course, Grover Stewart as well. So the Colts, they do have really good guys on that D line, and they do have playmakers as well. So, but like I said, they're worn down coming in this one. They're undermanned coming into here. And you just got to wear it down. You're looking at a matchup where they're going potentially with a lot of backups and a lot of depth pieces here. And like I said at the beginning, we scored 20 on the Chargers. We could have gotten 27 on them if we really wanted to. So I think if there's a week to put 30 points on the board, I think this is the week to do it. And this is my third and final key to victory here. Like the title of this video says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You guys ever hear that phrase? Well, it applies to this game right here for the offense. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, like I know I flaunted this to death so many times, but I think you get a run game going here with Najee Harris. Justin Fields continues to take good care to take good care of the ball. He's only had one turnover through 3 weeks. That's the only bad thing I have to say about Justin Fields here. And it was a forced pass against the Chargers at that. And you just continue to find guys. You take time with the ball. You don't rush it. You don't force passes. Your reads continue to, get better. I think this team is capable of putting 30 on the board against Indy. I mean, I would love a 30-point game because, like I said, this is the week to do it, in my opinion. But just, exploit their weaknesses. They're undermanned. They're banged up coming into this game, and they have a struggling offense going at it. Exploit Indy's weaknesses, and you can come away with a win. As for us, we're down a couple guys as well. So the Colts have to be thinking the same thing as well. Highsmith, he's out with a groin injury as well. But, like I said, I'm not too concerned about Highsmith being out. It's a big blow to the defense, don't get me wrong, because he complements TJ so well on the edge. But you saw what Nick Herbig did last week when he got called up. He was just making play after play after play. He was getting physical. He showed what he truly can be for this defense right here. So I think your biggest X factor on defense right here, it has to be Nick Herbig. I was always a next man up type of guy, and Nick Herbig epitomizes that to a key, in my opinion, right there. So, yeah, definitely Nick Herbig is my biggest X factor coming into this one. As far as the offense goes, Fatanu, unfortunately, he's going to be out for the season as he's undergoing knee surgery. So that's a big loss right there for our offensive line right there. I know the Colts have to be looking at that right there because our right side is incredibly weak now. We're probably going to be having, which unfortunately for us, it means Broderick Jones is going to be on the right side for possibly the rest of the season, unless maybe the Steelers finally address that right side and pick up someone to fill in that void. It sucks that Fatanu has to be out for the whole season. I'm looking for the offense to just get their targets involved, whether it's George Pickens, whether it's CA3 where he had that long touchdown last week, Scotty Miller even, he had a couple of catches, Roman Wilson finally getting involved, Muth continuing to carry the load. Just spread the ball around and get your guys involved. Like I said, this is an undermanned, banged up Colts defense that has potential to be good, but it's certainly suspect to giving up some big plays. Okay? So there you go right there. Like I said, we went into Indy last year, took a real bad L to them, 30-13. At that time, you'd have been forgiven if that ended our playoff hopes. But we won our final 3 games and made the playoffs while Indy missed the playoffs, actually. So, like I said, you'd have been forgiven if you thought that loss ended our playoff hopes. But now we go back to that same venue. And like I said at the beginning, the roles are kind of reversed now. We're the ones with the hotter hand. Indy's the one that has the question marks. And history's on our side with this one. This is one of the most lopsided matchups in NFL history. These two go back to 1953, and the Steelers are 27-7 all time against the Indianapolis Colts, including 5-0 in the playoffs against them. So historically, we have been dominant against the Colts. We have just flat out owned these guys since our first matchup against them 71 years ago. Even when Peyton Manning was the Colts quarterback, we still gave them trouble. You look back at that 0-2 game where the defense suffocated Peyton Manning. And of course, who could forget the 2005 AFC Divisional? We went into Indy as the 6th seed. The Colts were the 1st seed, and we dominated them there too. We had a 21-3 lead on the Colts at one point. They, of course, scored 15 unanswered points to make it a good game. Everyone remembers Jerome Bettis fumbling at the goal line. Nick Harper, if he would have just ran to the sideline, he has an easy walk-in touchdown. But Big Ben was in the vicinity, and he made the game-saving and, quite frankly, the Super Bowl season-saving tackle on him, and that set up Mike Vanderjagt missing wide right when he was the most accurate kicker in the NFL at the time. One of the first truly awesome moment for me as a Steeler fan. I was like 10 years old when that game happened. But yeah, there is history between us. And, like I said, even when Peyton Manning was the Colts quarterback, we still gave the Colts trouble. But yeah, Steelers and Colts, we head on to Indy. And like I said, take advantage of this team's mistakes, take advantage of them being banged up. Do what got you the 3-0 in the first place, and we come out of here 4-0, heading back to Pittsburgh the next week to face one of our biggest rivals, in my opinion, the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. But yeah, Steelers and Colts, we're 3-0. Let's get the job done to go 4-0. What do you think the Steelers need to do to come away with the win? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. This is my preview, and I am Mac, checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.